almost time to do the interview with Portia. She should be getting on any moment. Hello. Hello, sister.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, everyone.
But thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me.
I'm living in France, actually. So it's cool that both me and Precious were in Europe or, close to each other.
Yeah.
During this time, which is cool. And kind of like we're going through it sort of at the same time, like when the isolation first happened. Whereas like our parents who are still in Michigan, they were kind of hit with the reality of the situation maybe like 2 weeks afterwards. And like we're going through all of the same like mental realizations that we were going through like 2 weeks before. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
So should I go through just like what a typical day is like for me in
Well,
isolation?
could you give us quickly just a quick little overview? Where you dance. I touched on like your first company was Bejar, and now you dance at Ballet Monte Carlo. How long have you been there?
Yeah.
Just give us like a quick little like bit about like.
So I was at Bejar. That was my first company when I was 18, and I was there for 2 years, and it was in Switzerland, which was really cool. And then I had always sort of seen Ballet Monte Carlo and thought maybe I could dance there, and it was a company that I really admired. So that became my objective after leaving Bejar, and I was lucky enough to get a contract there. And I've been here. I've been in Ballet Monte Carlo now for 2 years. I'm completing my second season. So 4 years as a professional dancer. Whereas, how long have you been professional?
Is this the end of my 5th season or 6th season?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird how time goes fast though, isn't it? Like.
Yeah. So I think you've just been in the professional world maybe like 2 or 3 more seasons than I have.
Yeah. I feel like it's like 2 years more. So then I guess this is the end of my 6th season. Whoa. It's weird because you know the saying like the days go slowly but the years go quickly.
Mm-hmm.
That starts to get more and more in that pattern as you get older. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Especially now as time kind of seems to be never ending.
Yeah.
Right now.
Like on a daily basis, it's like each day is like so slow, but then it's like actually it's already been 6 weeks.
Right.
And exactly. I'm kind of like, where's the time gone?
You know? What did I do?
What did I do? Exactly. It's like, what was I doing this whole time?
Yeah. Like, what have I accomplished?
Yeah. Yeah.
With no metric.
I'm so afraid of coming out of this thing and people are going to be like, I did this. And I'm going to be like,
no.
Oh, I tried to do this.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you find it weird that, like, I don't know if because we've been doing so much more FaceTiming as of late.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I find it weird to be looking at myself while I'm talking. And
Me
I don't know
too.
if anybody else
really
has that.
Hard. Cause I keep,
it's hard to like not look at myself while I'm talking.
I know. My eyes keep
like, my mouth
looking at
does
myself instead of like looking at you. It's like it's so disingenuous. I'm
right.
Like, and it feels I'm paying attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, am I? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's like, is my puff even?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it would be convenient to have that in real life, but it's a little bit vain. It feels.
That's like crazy, Portia. Like, because it's like this is more of a part of our life, and it is like it's a little vain. And yeah, like we're spending like even more time. I'm like watching myself in life,
right,
having a conversation. It's weird,
right? That's true.
Ooh, I love it when you say such deep stuff. Okay, so tell us about like what a typical day in isolation has been like. Like, what's your routine if you have one?
Yeah, so structure's definitely been like, I think for everybody, it's sort of been like the saving grace of it all. I think it can be like sort of the one thing that keeps you sane is just trying to create some type of structure for yourself. So I would say there's probably 3 main things that I try to stay fairly consistent with every day. And that's probably like mind, body, and air. So that means like I try to get outside at some point. Body, I try to exercise, take care of my body, and mind, I'm going to do some reading or exercise my mind. And those are basically the 3 things that I'm like, okay, as long as I covered those, it's a good day and I don't feel like shit. It's okay, sorry.
It's okay, girl. That's like this is the one thing I love about like Instagram Live or like Netflix is it's like you don't have to be censored by like some big network or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, like this is real life, so.
This is the real.
This is the real. This is the real life. So
yeah,
you know, dire times. I really like the way you put that. You said mind, body, air.
Yeah, I just made that up, but
yeah, like you just made that up on the spot. Are you kidding me? Like,
yeah.
You see, this is why. Okay, so this when I tell people about you, Portia, I always tell them about like the time when. Do you remember the get ready for bed races that we used to have?
Yeah,
And okay, I'm just gonna like quickly like
that's a classic story.
classic story. But this is how I like tell people how cool your mind is. Like these races, like my mom would say, like, okay, whoever gets ready for bed first wins, and sometimes there'd be a prize, and we would like do it like almost every night. But my brother would always win. We have an older brother. She was always like, it's not fair. Like he's older. His bedroom's like across from the stairs, whereas
It's
ours
a
is
little
down
bit
the hall.
closer.
And
Yeah.
like he's like the oldest. He's a boy. No, 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 no. And like every single time, Parker would always win, and you were always like, this is like not fair. Like 3 or 4 years old, and so we're all 2 years apart, and so right, we would do it every night. Parker would win, and then boom, this one day, my mom was like, 1, 2, 3, go, and we all like my brother and I would go running to our rooms, and Portia just stayed there and took off her street clothes because she kept her PJs on the whole day. Like you were the baby, you know, like the youngest, the baby, and everyone was just like, what? Like she just outsmarted everyone, and also because you went the whole day like chill,
Yeah.
like nobody knew you kept your PJs on and like you won, and so that was the end of that.
Yeah, I guess like the question is like kind of unsanitary. Like, and also how did I fit? I was like, how did I fit my PJs underneath?
Like your street
like all
clothes
of my
for that
clothes?
day.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like
Without
the
it looking like
cutest
a little
thing,
bit
like a little
strange.
toddler, like outsmarting everyone. To me, like
Yeah.
that blows my mind still. Like it blows my mind. Anyways, yeah. So that's why it's like, okay, Portia's just like, you're just like, you got the really good genes.
Slightly lazy in the morning, and then was like, might as well just keep it up. Like I don't understand this whole take it off, put it back on business. Like
What's the
just keep
point?
it on.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
keep it on. So could you tell us about how you're like staying in shape?
I do like I do like these Cirque du Soleil workouts. I was running honestly, but um it's I kind of stopped doing that. I was starting to have like a little bit of pain in my knees, and I was like, I'll find something else. So I started doing these Cirque du Soleil workouts, which I have loved, and then I've gotten really consistently into yoga, Ashtanga yoga. Um, so I think
I've
that's
been loving
I
the
think
yoga.
that's probably going to be the first thing that I keep after quarantine is probably just continuing to do yoga, just because it feel great afterwards. I'm like bundas, yes, ujjayi breathing, hello, you know, and like I imagine myself like afterwards trying to do like the ujjayi breathing because it's quite loud. I don't know if you've started doing. Have you tried?
I don't think I've done. I don't think that's been a part of my practice yet.
Yeah, it's not. It's one of those things where you're just kind of like, if someone were to do it in public, it would be abnormal. But
Whose
yeah,
yoga classes have you been taking?
I've been taking FIGHTMASTER yoga. I don't know if
FIGHTMASTER
that's
yoga.
FIGHTMASTER. Yeah.
Mm.
I always find like those yoga people with like such a kind voice.
You don't like that, or you like it?
No, it's kind of like you like it, but you kind of want to like punch them in the face a little bit. Like it's one of those things. It's kind of like,
yeah.
Do you really sound like that?
This is what I tell everyone is like, I think like yoga is for everyone, but you just have to find a teacher that like resonates with you. You know what I mean? Like you just need a voice that you like. And it's like some people just find like the overly kind voices a little condescending and like patronizing while you're like sweating and shaking. You know?
Right.
like
could you stop?
Yeah, exactly. But like yeah, so like finding a yoga teacher who's like energy and whose voice you really like is kind of like the most important thing, because otherwise it's just annoying, you know.
Right.
But yeah,
and I would say probably a lot of people find specifically like if they start bringing in concepts that like spiritual concepts that people are not really into, I think that's another one that like just kind of makes people like,
no, this isn't for me. Yeah, you gotta kind of find like the
you
right.
See someone like slowly like leave the room like
like no.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not here for it.
Yeah, I'm just not for it. Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta find someone who's kind of speaking your language and stuff.
Yeah, I guess that kind of goes for a lot of stuff. Like, I mean, I think if you can find a good teacher, like you're probably gonna have a higher chance of liking whatever you're trying to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
I like how we have the same hairstyle.
I know. You know what? When people started saying
it's like our go-to now.
It is my go-to.
Yeah, it's just so easy.
Yeah. I just leave it up.
Just get that puff up.
Get that puff right up. When people say like I look like you, I'm just like, oh my god, thank you, because I just like, you know, your bone structure is so So I take it as such a compliment. So I wear my hair like this more now, actually. It's about like the lockdown situation in France. You live in Nice, right?
Yeah. So I live in the south of France, Nice. So Nice actually is a place much like most like in America, for instance, like it's the South, Florida, hot weather. It's touristy. Um, there's a lot of old people. There's a high population of old people, so they've been quite strict with a lot of the rules here. So basically, for instance, like we have a curfew, so we can't be outside past 10 o'clock. And if you want to go out running, for instance, you can only do it between the hours, I believe, of like 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then to 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then like those are the only hours that you can actually like run, for
Really?
instance. Yeah. And so it's been a little bit more extreme, and like they wanted to make it so that everybody had to wear a mask,
Mm-hmm.
but it got overruled by like the region or like the state ruling because there's not enough masks for everybody, so
Oh,
that was impossible. So just there's been the lockdown has just been a little bit more severe here. Like the police officers are really checking for people to see if they have their attestations. So like your attestation is on your phone, which is like a certificate saying where you live and why you're out. And if you don't have that, like you can get a fine, or if you're out of your parameters, you can get a fine up to like 138 euros. So
really?
it's been a little bit more extreme here, but
When you want to go to the
go
grocery
to the
store, you have
store
to go.
has to be something that's within 1 kilometer of your house. Normally, if you can, and all essential places are open. So like post office, not banks, but post office, grocery store, and that's kind of it. And the pharmacy, probably.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, but I mean,
Hey, I was just curious because it's like like so many of us dancers like we're all over the world and everyone's setup is like a little different. Everyone's like situation's a little different. So it's just like it's
right,
interesting to hear like what you're going through.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But I mean,
It's like the
yeah,
scope of it,
exactly.
so it's so beyond.
It's so sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Your mom, like, she's
yeah, bless. Our mom works in
blessed.
healthcare, so she's she's not stopped going to work at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was like, I'm not stopping.
She's like,
Like, it was
no.
funny because,
But she kind of,
yeah,
I get this feeling that she kind of like, because mom is very prideful. Like she likes to be purposeful and useful and like
right.
value, you know.
And she
So I
loves
think
to
she
go to
really
work.
likes being, on
I
the
think
front
like
lines and
everybody,
stuff.
everyone likes, you need to have your purpose.
Yeah, they had to open a big. They converted the expo center into a hospital.
Hmm.
But they needed like 250. Was it 250,000 volunteers? Like they needed like a lot of volunteers really quickly
Hmm.
for like like all sorts of different jobs and stuff because
Hmm.
they needed like bodies in there, and I really wanted to volunteer, but Olivia and I decided like we shouldn't put like ourselves at risk because we're quite blessed, and she's like, let's not take the piss with like our blessings right now, like second waves, and like we're like let's wait and see. Because part of me feels a little guilty, like because I do bar on my balcony every day, and like part of me feels like kind of guilty, or like when you start getting like thoughts of like are all my neighbors who are like inside either working or like there's a few essential workers who live in our complex. Part of me feels like really guilty because I'm like doing ballet on the balcony, and it's like like really is that like what she's doing with her time? And it's hard to like
But I mean,
sometimes
I
it's
would
hard to
say that's more
rationalize
so.
it to yourself sometimes, and it's like
Yeah. I mean, I guess like, I think it's probably just in the moment, just because mostly saving anyone's lives or not directly as purposeful in this moment. So
mhm.
probably a lot of people feel the same way, and you're not the only one. It's
That's
just
true.
right now.
That's true.
And like
Yeah.
those moments of like those eminent like those existential questions of like what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Like
Yeah.
they just don't happen as much because you're busy doing the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, and now you're not doing those things. So like you're just like, what am I doing and
That's
why am
true.
I doing them?
That's
Like
true. That's our job is actually to just like to not be out and about like infecting people, and it is like it is hard to stay isolated and to stay home. And like in the UK, we're not as strict as France. Like parks are open, like doing a good job. Like this is psychologically like not easy. Like we're staying in, like we're not out there just
right,
like infecting people. Like I might be asymptomatic, and if I'm just out and about, I could be infecting people.
right.
Like you're doing a good job staying home. So
Oh, sorry.
sorry.
I was just gonna ask you, do you find like you know, because obviously there's a behavior change in when you go out and about now. Like you have people that are very, it's like a dividing subject. So you have people, for instance, that are very much into, you know, stick to the rules. We're trying to, you know, save lives, quote unquote. Or you have people that are just like, you know, let people get immune. Like it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know, it's inevitable. Like don't, you know. So and then it's like you feel it very strongly, specifically in Nice. Like you feel people are very like, you know, like don't get in my space, like, you know, like, or I mean, which is understandable. I understand, like, you know, there's a lot of older people here. You might be living with an older person. It could be
exactly,
but you definitely see the difference between people's opinions about the subject.
You
Just
can feel
like,
it. I'm
exactly. You can feel the
so
tension so
I can feel
easily.
the tension. Exactly. Like I'm so aware of the energies now. Like it's funny because like when I queue outside the grocery store, it's like super chill. You know, everyone's standing 2 meters apart or whatever, super chill. But the second you get inside the store, like the tensions are so high. It's so weird.
Totally.
It's
And
so
it kind of
weird.
feels like some type of like Walking Dead scenario of like, you know, people I don't know, it's just like people get
Protective, yeah.
And like kind of, you know.
I think it's something about enclosed spaces. It just really like it just sends the tension levels like way up. Like, ooh, you know. Anyway.
Right. And it was like, it's like simple stuff. Like I remember a guy, last time we went grocery shopping, a guy came into the store and it was a homeless guy that like we know and like we've seen him every single time we've gone to the grocery store and like we give him money and stuff like that. But he went inside and like he was causing a kind of a commotion. He was just saying like, I want to buy my stuff. And like the tension in the like,
oh my god, I can't imagine
just
the tension. People would have been like
just so high. Like people were like saying stuff, like yelling at him, but it was not even that big of a deal. And I'm sure in a normal circumstance, like it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. And like people know him. Like I've seen the same people go to the grocery store that I go to now.
Right.
So it was funny. I was just like, wow, this is different. It's a different time.
That's such an interesting part of it is like how are people's reactions different because tensions are high. Like it's not normal times.
Which isn't normal for people to act differently.
Yeah, and like for people, like people's fuse is like it's for some people it's like the fuse shorter. But I've definitely noticed.
I'm gonna ask: is that energy going to go away, or is it always going to be a subconscious thing, like the flu?
It's a really good question.
Good question.
It's a good question. So like this has kind of like been like my main focus since like the lockdown started.
I think it'll take time, probably.
Yeah. You say what, Portia?
I think it'll probably just take time. Like directly after the lockdowns, people are still gonna act the same way, probably.
Yeah, like there will still be people. Like my whole thing has been like just trying to focus on like how I can focus on what I can control, like to make sure I'm not one of the people who is adding to the high tension, like, you know what I mean? And I don't want to be the one like adding fuel to the fire. Like I just try to be like the chill person, the chillest energy around. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, just try to be like that place of calm or whatever you can do.
That's gonna help. I can also see on the flip side of all that tension though, I can see like there is a huge population of people where there is just more humanity with people, like a lot more kindness, a lot more like like just outward like positive energy and like humanity between people that wasn't there before. So I hope stays after you know, like once we get to the other side of this, because like like this is like it will be ongoing. Like a year from now there will still be sensitivities around socializing, around people who are more at risk, like, you know what I mean? Like we're such a globalized world. So yeah, I hope that humanity aspect like stays around and we can keep that with us, like just valuing each other, and like in turn by valuing like your other human, like you'll be valued because we're all valuing each other, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wanted to segue out of the COVID stuff because I was like, you know, there's already enough. We already know.
Someone asked, what do you think will happen to the ballet industry?
Girlfriend, it's on my list of questions. We're gonna think
on my list of questions.
It's on my list of questions. I feel like our conversation is gonna go on for. I have a lot of questions for you, Portia, because I want.
Yeah, I saw the questions.
I want to go deep. You saw I sent you like 30 questions. I was like, let's talk about all of it.
Yeah.
We're gonna think tank that. Do you want to think tank it now?
Sure, we can ask. We can ask.
Okay,
we can talk about it.
Yeah, like what do you think the future of the performing arts? Like what do you think would change like long term? What perhaps solutions to keeping the art form strong and alive.
I think obviously right now we're just gonna have to rely on, I should say, on technology to be able to do live streams and to be able to, you know, have an audience that way, because I think it'll be a long time before we can have so many people in like an auditorium together. Just live stream performances probably, which is like really a shame, because I feel like
that's the magic
the
of
beauty
performing arts
of live performances.
Yeah,
is
exactly.
live.
I know.
Like there's something human that is the medium of technology is still unable to do, which is to like have that energy flow between human beings, and you don't feel that when you're just watching something online. I mean, you're impressed or whatever, but it's definitely, for me at least, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, and you're not as present. I think that's the big value that was still maintained in theater and live theater was you made this investment by getting a ticket to go see something, and you were investing in like this moment to just like be fully present and just indulge and receive the entire experience, you know?
Yeah.
And actually I've been hearing a lot about I hear it more at like comedian shows and stuff, but there's like this new thing where when people arrive at the theater, you put your phone into these pouches so that you can't use your phone during the show. And it's I've heard about it with like kind of like big mainstream comedians and stuff, just because they don't want people recording their stuff and putting it up before their like Netflix special goes out or something like that, right?
Exactly.
And I was like, we should have that, because I can't tell you how many times I've been on stage like in Swan Lake, like standing there
and you
sweating,
see somebody,
and I like see someone on their phone. Or I remember this one time, this woman was like eating her ice cream.
No way.
Yeah, and she was like looking down, and I could see her just like
it so breaks the moment.
Yeah, and I was like standing there, and I saw it, and I was just like, oh my god, like really?
But wait, you performed in.
I'm so jealous, but
wait, can you even have that in the Coliseum? You can have food like
different theaters have different like things in England. In some theaters in England, yeah, you can have like, you can bring your wine in. Yeah, I live in England, girlfriend. Yeah, you can bring that beer in, you can bring that wine in. Yeah, it's like cinema, yeah. But yeah, that's what I was saying, like more reliance on live performances and stuff and live streaming. Because I was like, you know, Olivia and I, we were watching Royal Ballet. They put up Costi van Tutti on YouTube. But it was like not a live streaming from the theater, but it was like a live viewing of it. So it was like you needed to be on at that time to watch it. While we were like waiting up to the 7:30 when it started, it was like 20,000 people waiting to watch it. And I was like, you see, no. Like there are people that they need this in their life. Like there's no way you can have like, you can just like work a desk job, and like you need music in your life. Like you need something to make you feel alive. You need something to make you feel like enriched, you know? So I was like, look, like there's 20,000 people like just waiting, like who are sitting at home, who are like, can't wait for this to start. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying. So
yeah,
like there's definitely like a place, like there's definitely an audience for it all, because like TikTok just isn't gonna like satiate like the same like deeper like yearning, you know, like TikTok's just not gonna do it. And TikTok's great, but you know, sometimes it's like I need to see like what the human spirit can do.
Totally. I mean, I think, and that even goes for, you know, that goes across like all live performance disciplines. So like for me, like going to watch jazz or going to the symphony or the Philharmonic or something like that, like there's nothing can really replace the experience of going to go see it live. And that's kind of like what turns people from being like, I don't understand, I don't get the point, to being like, oh, I see what you're doing, or I see what's going on there. So it may affect like potentially, I mean, there could be some negative consequences because people don't have that opportunity to see the value in it so easily. But
which like
hopefully hopefully like by putting out so much more free or semi-free media, then you'll maybe attract a different audience that you didn't have access to before, because a lot of the times the ballet doesn't really want to put out a full-length ballet because we want people to go and see it live. But
yeah, and because it's such an expensive, it is such an expensive thing, and there's so many moving parts to it. I think that's the other thing, is like it's not just one person and their voice or one person with their instrument. It's like 100 people plus
Mm-hmm.
orchestra, costumes, stage crew, and. But like, I cannot describe the feeling. And the feeling like when I sit in the opera house and watch anything live, like, or in any theater and watch something live, I can't describe the feeling. Like, it's a totally different feeling. And anyone who perhaps hasn't experienced it live, it is like different, because you have the energy of like 100 or 200 people coordinating to bring you
Exactly.
to bring you something. Do you know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Like, that's
Right.
powerful. Like, that's so
Right.
powerful.
And we've probably been privileged to, and you enjoy it more, and you see like the magic of it or whatever. Because it's
Yeah,
probably, I mean, like I've spoken to so many people, which when you tell them, "Oh, you're a ballet dancer," and then
they
they're
just
kind
don't
of
get
like,
it.
"Okay, yeah," but it's just because they've never experienced or never have like understood the depth of that. For instance, of like they've never like moved their body in that way, or they've never been on stage and they've never seen all of these people collaborating to make this one thing happen, and so they potentially can't see the level of value in that way, maybe. But
Yeah, they can't understand the scope
it's
of
kind of
it.
like when it's like if you're a
Right.
soccer player, for instance. If I had played soccer when I was a child, I'm sure I would enjoy soccer much more, just because I know what it feels like to have to kick a ball and to try to, working with your team and all of the things that go into being a soccer player. I'll
Mhm.
probably enjoy it much more watching it because I know what it feels like, and that person's actually achieving what I've tried to do in my head.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it definitely like it heightens the experience for somebody if you've actually done it yourself, I think.
That's true. You have like a greater like appreciation and respect for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially even if you like weren't even able to accomplish it, but you know what it feels like and you see how difficult it is to actually be able to get to that level and do it.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah. So what's the next question?
And next question. Okay.
I love you and your straw. Are you into the like
Olivia got me into it.
I'm so glad you noticed.
Yeah, I just, I really look up to her, and she always has her metal straw, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna drink everything out of a straw now too.
Is there even okay? First, I didn't even think there was liquid inside. You were just like,
It's
"Does it
like just an
have
empty
it?"
glass.
It's like, I was like, "There's actually nothing in this."
But like, are there any other like, I don't know, like, is public figures or writers or like,
Yeah.
yeah, like other
I've
people
always
who
been a
really
fan of Alice
feels.
Walker.
Who now?
She's like Alice Walker.
Mm.
She's like like a literary woman and poet, and she's just a writer basically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she made this poem I think I really loved. It was called like I Keep My Broken Things or something like that. Or I can't quite remember it, but
Mm-hmm.
I really like. She's an older woman,
What are some?
maybe
How about I ask you this? Like, what are some of the, because of how you first started to answer my question, um, about how it's more like specific things about people, which is actually leads right into my next question perfectly, which was, what are like the values that make you look up to people or respect people, and like point out the things that attract you to being like, ooh, like I like that, or I admire that, or I respect that. Like, what are the values and the
oh,
qualities?
Abigail says hi.
Oh,
Hey,
hi.
Abigail.
Can you tell us about like some of the values and qualities that attract you to someone or make you admire someone's like work or?
Yeah, totally. I mean, so I would say a lot of people are really focused on success and like whatever and like achievements and stuff like that, which I think is obviously very, very important. But I really admire people that are just willing to try at least. Like I think a lot of us are so afraid of failure that we don't even try. So I really appreciate when people are courageous enough to be stupid and to ask the questions that nobody like that seem obvious but really aren't that obvious. And it might take a little bit more time, but at least the person understands.
Mm,
I really look up to people that are willing to try and willing to fail. And so whatever that means. If so yeah, I think I have some friends of mine that I always saw those types of things in them, and I always thought like I love that quality in them. So I think that's a quality and a value that I really admire. Um, and yeah,
mm, mm.
probably that.
I like that.
Mm.
Um, can you tell us about like what are some of the little things that are like getting you through this or that make you happy right now?
So I mean, I've been trying. So speaking of trying, I've been trying to tinkle on the guitar again.
Oh yeah,
And
you have such a great voice.
no, I'm not singing,
The
but
the singing and the guitar. I'm not gonna ask you to sing right now,
it's
but
like, you want me to
maybe
hold the note?
yeah.
So
Who do you want to harmonize? No,
the voice.
yeah.
The voice.
I will take
You like
off
turn around in your chair.
I will take you off key. If we tried to harmonize, it would not work.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah,
I can't
no.
harmonize, actually. I've realized it's impossible for me.
Well, but you're good.
I think also the other weird thing is like you feel like you always have like a lot of things to do. Like as specifically when it first happened, the lockdown, you were like, I have so much to
And the same.
do.
I was like so busy. I was
I
like,
was like,
oh my
oh
god,
my god,
where am I gonna
kicking
find
it
the time?
off. Like
Yeah.
what?
I was
And
like,
then
I'm falling behind. I was like, I
exactly.
don't know how I did life before this.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. And now it seems like it's not necessarily the lack of things to do, it's the lack of motivation. But
That's
I think
exactly
that just,
it. Yeah.
yeah, I think it, but what I see, what changes that is just place. So if I move my location, it really like it can motivate me so easily to like, okay, I'll like want to do it or something. But if I'm like constantly in the same space, doing the same thing,
Yeah.
I think that's when it becomes like kind of lackluster.
Yeah. So just change it up, change your location in the house, and you can find like new motivation.
Because currently I'm staying with my boyfriend, but I mean, if I go back to my apartment or if I go somewhere else, like that helps me a lot of like just changing my environment that can help lift me up.
Okay. Mm.
I think probably a lot of people feel that.
That's good that you can just like if you need to you can cycle back to your flat.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah, that's really good.
I mean, it's always like a secretive mission though, because I'm
Yeah, like you're
technically
like
not
not
allowed to.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
secret mission.
It's a whole operation.
The only thing that like can get me motivated is like I have to ditch my phone.
Oh, totally.
Like I literally hide it from
You gotta
myself,
let it
like
go.
deep in my closet, or like I'll abandon it somewhere. Like I have to like go and abandon it somewhere, and it's the only way I can like, because like I started my degree courses as well, but it's like it's the only way I have to like ditch it. Like
No, sometimes I'll time myself to see how long I can keep a concentration, and it's a small amount of time, and I'm not proud of it.
Yeah,
it's like 6 minutes. It's not okay. Like before, I'm like,
I know, right? Actually, I want to try that. I want to start setting a timer, and every time like I like pull away or like go out of the tab that I'm supposed to be in, it's like okay, start the timer again. Like, need to get, yeah. Could you tell us, have you had any like down moments during this period?
Oh yeah, totally.
How have you like dealt with that?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just let it happen. Like, I kind of give myself a day if I'm saying like, oh my God, I feel like I feel horrible. Like, I don't want to do any of the things that I'm supposed to be doing. I just let myself have the day, and I'm like, I'm not gonna guilt myself into trying to do stuff, or I might try, but I just let it happen. And then normally, if I just give myself the day and I don't give myself like guilt for allowing myself to just not do anything for a day, it normally goes away actually. So
that's good.
Somehow,
yeah.
I don't know if that's helpful information, but
no, I think that is
just
like
let it happen.
because if we were in normal life anyways, like you would still, when you think about how much more time we have on our hands now anyways, it's like we've all of a sudden, and this is something I keep reminding myself of, is like sometimes I get anxious about like money, job, ballet, career, all that stuff. Exactly. But it's like actually like we've actually kind of been given one of the most valuable blessings. Like not only like thank goodness we're fortunate and we're privileged enough that like we can just shelter in place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not everybody has that privilege, but I all of a sudden have one of the most valuable things in life, which is time on my hand. You can always make more money, but you can't make more time. So,
and like that's also where the pressure comes from, because you're like, I have time to do the thing that I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
that's the pressure of it, because then it's like if I don't do it, it's like what's your excuse? Like
exactly.
Yeah.
The excuse is I don't want to do it.
Because I'm lazy.
Right. I think also finding any ways that you can like eliminate the shame, guilt, pressure aspect of it all, I think is nice. Like you can take the positives of like you've been given this time, try to like be happy, utilize it as much as you can, but don't like I don't try to tell myself like if you don't do all the things that that you know, you set on your list, then it's gonna be over.
Yeah,
Like,
you don't have to punish yourself.
right, exactly.
So if you find a way to kind of liberate yourself from those kind of negative feelings of like guilt and pressure, then you can kind of free yourself up to really, not enjoying, but yeah, like making the most of your time. Because yeah, like those are all those things like fear that like bog you down, that kind of keep you frozen, and they kind of stop you moving, or like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? They
It
pull
can
you
totally
out.
stagnate you.
Yeah, they stagnate you, exactly.
Hmm.
Um, so one of the other big questions that I want to explore with you is, how would you want to live life differently after all of this is over? Are there any like changes that you want to incorporate in your life, like long term? Has this situation impacted or changed your perspective on life? I don't, well, okay, actually, I'm sorry. I kind of went out of order. I was supposed to ask you, what do you miss the most from your life before lockdown? And then perhaps that would have helped you to kind of segue into
Oh, okay.
like what
Yeah.
you would want in the future after thinking about kind of the past.
But I think there's a lot of positives that kind of come out of me being able to just stay at home. So in a way, I miss it, but I'm able to be happy, like just staying at home and being with my boyfriend, who I probably wouldn't have been with for as long because I would be traveling or something like that.
Mm.
So, and being able to do all the things that I didn't think I would be able to do. So definitely the routine I miss, but I'm happy to adopt a new one.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? Yeah, just being able to go outside without feeling like a criminal. I think that's like the major one that I would love to not feel like. 'Cause that's the one that I'm just like, do I need to feel, yeah, like what did I
Yeah.
really do?
Yeah.
It's not necessary, but yeah,
Yeah.
you feel like a criminal sometimes. I'm like,
Yeah. Mm.
but hopefully I keep doing guitar. I hope I keep doing that. You know, let's see how long that lasts.
Mm.
I think we've been doing like a lot of point classes with the company, so
Oh,
hopefully
really?
that will pay off afterwards. Yeah,
With Bernice.
right.
So is that just exclusive for the company to access? Because I saw a video of someone doing it and it looked so good, and I was like, ooh, can you give me
Yeah,
the
it's
Zoom
really
code?
good. It's really nice.
Can you give me the Zoom code?
It's kind of
For
similar to the huh, yeah, I will.
that?
Just kidding. No, but I think it's similar to like the 4-point classes. It's
Oh,
like on that order.
it's on that.
Yeah,
Okay, along those lines.
which is nice because it's not really like moving so much.
Mm.
Just because I'm like, I cannot be doing all that like movement and
Yeah, there's just no
in,
way.
in an apartment. Yeah,
Mm.
but yeah, that's good.
Mm.
So,
So
all
these are
right.
just, I have
The
some
last
last like super quick ones. What do you listen to on Spotify? What's like the number one on your Spotify list right now?
Spotify list.
Yeah.
So I've just found actually, speaking, uh, okay, I'll talk about it. So there's a take. So I know how I was talking about Take Five, the David BRUBECK song.
Yeah, the jazz
So
song.
I found like an awesome version of it with this guy. I would have to like get off of the live to find it.
Okay, cool.
We'll just do it.
I've
I want
really
to
been
say
getting into like I've been, when I go for my walks and my little jogs or whatever, I've been listening to like a lot more classical music. I
oh
don't know
really?
why. Something
That's
about
helpful.
it's weird though, because before I almost never listened to it outside of work unless it was like a specific piece that I needed to get um more familiar with.
Mm.
But I think that's because there was already so much of it like in my life or whatever. But it's weird that like I keep like bringing myself to tears as I'm like on this journey like through
Really?
the classical arts. Yeah, like it's weird because yeah, like
It
normally
can
it's
do
like I
that to
spend like
you.
6 to 8 hours a day around like mostly classical music and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it was already there like subconsciously, and it's weird, like I think like subconsciously like my body, my mind missed it, and I think I didn't fully know how much I actually really appreciate classical music. Like I haven't been like listening to as much of the mainstream stuff that I normally listen to. Like it's been a lot of jazz and a lot of classical music.
Oh, nice. Well,
Yeah,
that's
like
good.
sometimes I'm just bringing I'm like, oh my god, tear, like
Exactly.
these masterpieces. Yeah, but anyways.
No, I mean, I think it's a normal reaction. They're so beautiful. And it's weird because
Yeah,
it's
I
true,
just
like you
like
said,
never
like
had the
we're
time to
around
really
it.
like just appreciate it. Huh?
Yeah. And it's funny because like you said, we're around it like all the time in our jobs, but at the same
Mm.
time we're not really hearing it. It's a task when we hear it because we're trying to understand the music the way that the person like the way that the choreographer understands the music or the way that your partner understands the music.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a task. So it's like you're listening to it and you're like, oh, okay, like what's the beat, blah blah blah.
Like, oh wait, what did
Trying
you
to
count
find the
there? I was like, you counted 9? I counted this many. Yeah, you know.
exactly
Yeah.
right. You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, so like at that point it becomes yeah, it's like a really task.
And
So
not like for
you
pleasure.
can't enjoy it for its luxuriousness or for its beauty itself. But
Yeah, that's so true.
but that's nice
So
that
did
you're
you
like
find the
sort of
jazz song?
awakening anew. Yeah, so it's by Al Jarreau.
Okay. Can you play it for us real
It's
quick?
in 1970. Can you hear it? It sounds like
Can you
nothing,
turn it up
but
a little?
it's
every morning I would walk by her house and she'd be sitting on the front, sitting out on the sitting off.
yeah. It's like
Okay. I couldn't quite hear. I'm gonna have to look it up later.
yeah, exactly. Like
I don't know the sound quality wasn't coming through very well.
right. You can imagine. Like, am I really doing this?
Sorry.
Yeah, someone's like, post the link.
Yeah, post
Get it
the link.
together.
Yeah. Post the link. I wanna check it out
No,
later.
great. Yeah,
Are you
yeah.
watching or following anything on like YouTube or Netflix? What are you reading?
So reading, I actually brought that because I saw that in your list. So I'm reading The Lost Children Archive,
Ooh, what's that
which
about?
is sort of about it sort of explores like ownership, and it's a family in America, and they travel to Arizona from New York, and the two parents are documentarian, like they do
Documentaries?
documentaries. Fuck, I lost the word.
Uh-huh.
And
Okay.
it's based about immigration and migration. Yeah, Al Jarreau's amazing, right? I think so too.
Ah.
So, um, so that book, so it's sort of about like questioning ownership, also family issues and family dynamics, and just what does it mean to be an immigrant and to be a migrant, and so it's sort of about that. And
Oh,
it's
cool.
mostly about like Native Americans and Americans and their relationship and unwakening the real truths behind that. And then in contrast with that, I'm reading another book which is called um sorry, which is called like fuck, I can't get the sorry.
You're hilarious.
I'm not great with technology. It's on Kindle, so like okay, so The Strange Death of Europe, which is basically a conservative view on immigration and like how immigration is basically the death of Europe and Britain. So yeah, it's contrasting.
That's quite relevant actually, considering Brexit and everything that's going on. Interesting, Porsche. I always love hearing about what you're reading. You always surprise me. Okay, so we're almost gonna come to our 1 hour when this thing will shut off on us.
Oh really?
Yeah, in like
There's
3
no
minutes.
time limit?
There is. You can only do this for an hour. I was gonna ask like what was like the best place your company's toured to, if you could answer in like one word. One word.
Best place
to.
with Ballet Monte Carlo?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
well, can I say not just with Ballet Monte Carlo?
Okay,
Because I
fine.
think
Say 2 words.
so. Lebanon was one of the best. Lebanon and Israel were probably two of the best places that I traveled to.
So did you go there with Bejar?
I went there with Bejar, yeah,
Oh,
and it
okay.
was really interesting because it was like kind of a testy time. We were in Beirut and Syria. There's like the whole ISIS thing that was quite active at that time, so it was
Whoa.
quite risky, I guess, but it was really interesting. And I think just as an American going to the Middle East, I think it can be such an eye-opening experience. And
Wow.
then I say Israel because and so, like it can give you such a larger scope of your citizenship and what all of those things mean, and your nationality. So that was awesome. And then also Israel, and I went to Jerusalem, and that was awesome too for religious reasons. I'm not Christian, but
Mm-hmm.
I found it like incredible. It
Mm.
was just to see everyone, see people with, yeah, I could go on for days about it, but you said one word, so I would say that those two places.
Um. Okay. Wow, Portia. I think we should. Feel like we should just leave it there because that was.
Sleep there.
Yeah, that was very good. That was a lot.
It's funny. I feel like we do make the same faces.
I know. It's weird how like you start taking on other people's like mannerisms and stuff. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like you kind of do. Well, yeah, all of it. I think everyone's taken that on.
All the rolling.
Yeah, it's like it's getting me through this. Honestly, I'm just like, oof, yeah, you know. Anyways, I don't think I said anything just then, but I think we're gonna wrap it up. Portia, thank you so much. It was really good to talk to you. And
yeah.